Welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the Inwin Dragon Rider case. This full tower case is all black, constructed from steel, so it's very sturdy, and it has a dragon style theme, which is very apparent when you look at the front bezel. At the top they include one 120mm exhaust fan, another one can be installed, or you can choose to install a radiator here at the top. Here's the microphone jack, headphone jack, two USB 3 ports, two USB 2 ports, firewire port, and two external serial ATA ports, as well as a power button and reset button. There are five 5¼ drive bays, and each of these drive bay covers doubles as a dust filter, and they can be very easily removed by pressing in on each tab on either side of the drive bay cover, and then just pull it off. Also, the top one doubles as a 3.5-inch drive bay because they include a 5¼ to 3.5-inch drive bay adapter. Removing the front bezel is very easy. All you need to do is pull. They include one 120mm intake fan, and this fan can be removed if it needs to be replaced. Now, if you're wondering what this is, well, the only purpose that this serves is to illuminate this front Inwin logo. The left side panel has lots of ventilation, and they include a very large 220mm fan. Now, this fan does have LEDs, and here's a switch to turn the fan's LEDs on or off. Also, you can replace this 220mm fan with up to 6 optional 120mm fans. Note though that a dust filter on the left side panel is not included. The right side panel also has lots of ventilation, and they include a 120mm intake fan. At the back of the case, at the very top, are 4 rubber grommeted holes. Now, these holes can be used to route cables through, but you can also use these to route water cooling tubes through, and of course you could route cables and tubes through these rubber grommeted holes if you choose. They include a 120mm exhaust fan. Here's the motherboard's I/O shield plate, 8 ventilated expansion slots, and at the bottom is where a standard ATX power supply gets installed. Also, they include 4 thumb screws, 2 on each side panel. Note that on the inside of the left side panel, they have acoustic foam. This is a full-size tower case, so there's plenty of room to work on the inside. Also, they include a hole on the motherboard tray for the cooler's retention plate. As well, there are holes for routing the cables through, and you can put them very easily behind the motherboard tray. And of course, hiding cables is excellent for looks, but also for air circulation inside of the case. As I mentioned earlier, there are 5 external 5¼ drive bays, and each of these have a toolless design. They include these plastic drive rail mounts. All you would need to do is install one on each side of the drive, and these just slip in, and once you do that, you can very easily install or remove the drive. Installing up to 6 3.5-inch hard drives is also a toolless operation using the included plastic rails. All of the drive rails are conveniently located on a 5¼ insert. This can be removed by pushing in on either side and just pulling. And one 2.5-inch drive can be installed on the included 2.5-inch adapter. Installing cards in the expansion slots is also a toolless operation. It is very easy to do and secure. First, just flip this out, install the card, and then flip it back in. There are 4 rubber feet for the power supply to rest on, and they include a removable power supply fan filter. This case also fits video cards a little over 13 inches in length. With the right side panel removed, you can see the other side of the motherboard tray, and note all of the cable management holes. There's 5 here and another 2 in the middle, and this will allow you to tuck the cables behind the motherboard tray, which is excellent. Also, they include a hole on the motherboard tray for the cooler's retention plate, and that's a tremendous time saver. Now, while there's not a lot of space between the motherboard tray and the right side panel, it should be just enough space to tuck most of the cables behind the motherboard tray. Also note that the motherboard tray is not removable. Note the ventilation at the bottom of the case. This is to allow the power supply's fan to intake cool air from outside the case. Also, there's 4 feet. Now, each one of these feet actually has rubber inserts. Also, these feet swing out for stability. Finally, have a listen to the stock cooling. If you're in the market for a full-size tower case, well, this is pretty much what you should be looking for. The overall design is quite pleasant. Also, it's black on the outside, black on the inside, plenty of drive bays, plenty of fans. You can install more. Also, there's a hole on the motherboard tray for the cooler's retention plate, cable management holes, fan filters. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Now, the case itself is not aluminum, rather it's steel, so it's pretty heavy, but that does mean that it's sturdy. And also, the case does not come with a removable motherboard tray. But all things considered, this is a kick-ass product. Until next time, take care.